Hello, my friends, and I hope you are having a fantastic day. So today we are going to talk about Ubisoft, because why not? When it comes to how they're doing, it just does not get any better. We are definitely watching their slow decline in real time. It'll be really interesting to see what does happen if Tencent decides to buy them out, especially since now Ubisoft France strike called over return to office order and pay dispute. I am not going to try to pronounce this because I don't think anybody should have to listen to me butcher the French language, but this is STJV, or the French Video Game Workers Union. It has called a strike because Ubisoft has imposed an order that for 3 days a week that they have to return to the office. Now, on one hand, I don't necessarily think that this is an absolutely terrible thing that people have to physically go to work. On the other hand, I do understand part of their point. When you have been working this way for a while, you arrange your life to deal with the way that you're working. So if you are always home, you can't just at the drop of a hat suddenly start showing up at the office. They have to give you the time to adjust to that. The strike was apparently announced back in September on the 26th, and I have to wonder if they were given any type of prep time to organize their lives so that they could return to work in this way. Now, obviously, the big issue for the union is that they are saying that it was without any tangible justification or consultation with the workers' representatives. They go on to say, after more than 5 years of working efficiently in the current remote work context, many of our colleagues have built or rebuilt their lives, family life, housing, parenthood, etc., and cannot return to the previous working conditions. Now, that I have to disagree with. Given time, they could actually return to the previous working conditions. People work that way all the time. There is nothing special about video game designers that they couldn't work that way. They go on to say, our employer knows this perfectly well. The consequences of its decision will be the loss of our colleagues' jobs, the disorganization of many game projects, and the drastic increase in psychosocial risks for those who remain. I would like to know what psychosocial risks they're concerned about, but that seems weird. Now, this was after the collapse of their profit-sharing negotiations. It says exactly like previous salary negotiation, management's proposals were unacceptable, the negotiations timetable was appalling, and management was deaf to the proposals of the various employee representatives. Now, despite the fact this article was written on the 26th that we're just now talking about it's because we're right now right in the middle of the strike. This would be day 2 of it. Part of the demands that they were making in these negotiations is they wanted a formal agreement on remote work. They wanted a restoration of profit sharing at 60%, an end to an alleged gender pay gap, and a higher increase in low salaries. While I can understand coming to an agreement on remote work, that would be important. To me, profit sharing at 60% seems insane. And I would actually have to see how they are defining a gender pay gap. I am not one of those women who will say, oh my God, women get paid less than men. Realistically, no, we don't. We just have a tendency to take our value in terms of vacation time, health care, maternity leave, other things than the by hour pay. Normally, when you factor in all those things together and you look at a male worker versus a female worker, they come out about even. Unfortunately, you have these really dumb people out here who have a tendency to focus on the dollars per hour, and they don't look at all the extra benefits. Now, the nice thing, you know what? Not the channel for this. Nobody wants to hear me go on the rant about why it is a better idea to take benefits over pay from your employer. Maybe some other day we'll get into that. However, they do go on to say, until proven otherwise, games only exist thanks to the workers' labor, and good games thanks to the working condition. And so this kind of gets me. What do you mean by until proven otherwise? So, yeah, the video games exist because the video game developers create them. Yes. Some of these developers absolutely could go out, start their own studio, and create games without Ubisoft. Yes. Without Ubisoft having developers, they couldn't create games. That is a truth. However, there are things Ubisoft provides that the workers don't have to. They don't have to worry about a number of things, such as how they're getting paid. Indie game developers often have a hard time because they only get paid after they finish their game. If their game flops, they have to eat it. If a developer is working on, I don't know, Star Wars Outlaws and it flops, they still get paid. They still got whatever their hourly rate is. They still have their health insurance, at least until Ubisoft has to close its doors anyway. So they are not taking the same risks that the developers. But again, this is a whole economic issue that we could get into that probably best left for other times. They do go on to say that they are inviting the staff to mobilize globally. This also isn't the first time they've organized a strike. In February, almost 700 staff joined the picket line across French cities of Paris, Montpellier, Annecy, Lyon, and Bordeaux to demand better wages. And of course, this whole thing comes in the middle of this whole Ubisoft doing really poorly all across the board. They have their investors calling on them to go private. They have the possibility of selling out to Tencent. And I have to wonder, if they do sell it to Tencent, how does that affect the union? Overall, this appears to be a 3-day strike. Will this have a huge impact on Ubisoft? Yes, of course it will. That is 3 days where their employees aren't doing anything. And especially in the middle of what they're going through now, it's not going to make their lives any easier whatsoever. There is a link to the formal release here on the STJV website. Their demands are laid out actually right here. The first is the formal agreement on remote work with a due process of real negotiation between management and unions, not an arbitrary decision taken several months in advance. One which guarantees that each person can freely choose its number of remote days and when they are in the week, as well as being counted by the month and not by the week. I'm not sure what difference that makes, but okay. An immediate increase in all salaries to compensate for the drop in our living standards in recent years. The restorations of profit sharing at 60% objective, the end of the gender pay gap, and a higher increase in low salaries. So they just want everybody to get paid more across the board. Actually listening to employee opinions by the implementation of a social dialogue worthy of the name. Management seems indeed to confuse monologue with dialogue. Then they have to go on to remind that in France, you benefit from a constitutional right to strike. I do realistically have to wonder what they gain from just a 3-day strike, what point they get across, because, they strike for 3 days and they go back to work. Does that really, that will obviously have an effect in timetables, but I don't know how much of an effect it has overall. So despite being very late to this news, obviously, in the middle of the strike, when it was called for the end of last month, it's still interesting to examine where it is in terms of all of this. It really gives you a bigger picture of what is going on in Ubisoft beyond just the problems with their cash flow, with their investors, with their sales, putting off games, and potential buyouts. They have a lot going on behind the scenes. And none of it looks good at all. I mean, if they came out with an amazing game that really just lifted them out of this hole they were in, that's really about the only thing they could do at this point. I can't predict the future any more than anybody else, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went the Tencent buyout way, simply because with the whole Tencent owning a non-controlling portion in the Guillermo holding company, plus that 10% in Ubisoft on its own, it seems like it would be a really easy way for them to pivot and potentially can maintain some control. I don't know how that plays with any of this union stuff, though. I do understand the grievance of, being suddenly told that they have to go back to office work. I don't know that they weren't given time to figure out their family stuff. That's really the only sticking point that I can see about not going back to working in your office. If you don't like it, then you can quit. Now, I've seen videos, was it a Hypnotic video? Or was it Smash JT, where they mentioned the possibility that this kind of move would be to get workers to quit, thus not having to worry about severance packages. You also don't have to pay them anymore. So it's a quick way to decrease your payroll burden on your business, which at this stage, I don't know, that very well could be something they're trying to do, especially with the way news about layoffs is received in the gaming world right now. Having people quit because they're unhappy with having to go into the office is probably far easier to deal with than the headlines where you laid off 1,000 workers or something. Though we can definitely say the quality of their work has not gone up in recent years. If anything, they have been on a pretty consistent downward spiral. So I'm not sure at all about this until proven otherwise statement, because I kind of feel like maybe they are proving otherwise about the working conditions thing. Because if good working conditions led to that, then shouldn't the games be better than ever? And they're definitely not. But what do you guys think? Do you think that the strike's going to have any effect? To me, it seems like they're on their way downhill anyway. The strike's just another whatever blip in the radar. Do you think their demands are fair? I mean, I think we can tell what my opinion is. But I'm looking forward to hearing what you say down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. If you really liked it, you can feel free to share it around, and I will catch you later.